Welcome again to our meditation class. And the meditation class is where we learn how to experience our own body and our own mind instead of reading it out of books or believing in things. At a recent talk over in WWII, somebody asked me the question, Ajahn Brahm, have you got faith? And I said no, because I always distrust faith. Faith can be something you can begin with, but then you kind of test it out to see if it works. And one of the nice things about the meditation, what you experience when you get still, is the lessening or even the abandonment of something they used to call the 5 hindrances. Wanting, not wanting, tiredness, sloth and torpor, and restlessness and remorse. And the 5th thing is doubt. And the 5th one was something I was always surprised at. What does that mean? Doubt. And what it means is when your mind gets still, not just those 4, what they call hindrances, disappear, but what you experience, you know that what it is accurate, real. You don't imagine. You don't distort anything. And that is quite wonderful. Even those people who have some of these experiences, the deep meditations, of things disappearing or remembering past lives, all those sorts of stuff, sometimes you think, oh, this is interesting, this is wonderful, but how can you trust it? It's amazing that when these things do actually happen, you know it's real in a way which you don't usually recognize in ordinary conscious experience, and you check it out afterwards and you find it is real. And that is quite stunning, first of all. You know how many times you've had experiences in life. You were there, you saw it, but did you really see it accurately? Or is there distortions of perception? And in these cases, when you've had some deep meditations, your perception is not distorted at all. It's accurate. You can test it out a few times if you want to. But after a while, you know that feeling of stillness and accuracy. So what you perceive is real. And that is so much more powerful way of not just seeing truth, but knowing it is truth. A good example of that, and it's an example not from Buddhism, that is the example of that lady from Hong Kong who was a Catholic and who, having an operation in the hospital over in Hong Kong, she left her body and she went into a big light, and she's having an operation for cancer. And when she went into that light, because she was a Catholic, she interpreted it as union with God. Okay, now I'm not being religious here. That's just the language which she used for this experience. And when she came out, she had the understanding, the insight, that her cancers were all over and beaten. And the reason was because she saw the cause of them. She said the cause was always trying to please other people too much. No matter how much she did, she always wanted to please them some more. And that stress, she identified as the cause of her cancer. And when she came out, that's what she told the doctors. And the doctors thought she was just kind of hallucinating. But she said, no, that was true. And it was real. This is what happens. In these deep meditations, hers was because of out of the body, going into that, what she saw, union with God, that was, I could identify that as just an experience of a jhana. Going towards the light, merging into that light, and just having hours of bliss. And the insight which comes out afterwards. And then for her, the main problem she was trying to solve all this time was, of course, the one threatening her life. which was the cancer. And when I read that, I was really interested in it because of this reason. You could identify what's happening there. She was not imagining, it was real. And because of that, you can kind of see how when a person does have strong mindfulness, and that's actually what happens in the meditation, your mindfulness gets stronger and stronger and stronger. And when it gets really strong, it becomes clear. And you know that what you're experiencing is true. Maybe a bit weird, but you know it's real. And that is something which I was always quite impressed by. I never knew its really implications. How can you know that what you experience in some of these deep meditations is true, is real? Is it just an illusion? Is just someone faking it? Is you just imagining these states of mind? Or are they real? And you find the deeper you go in meditation, your perception comes with it not just a feeling, but a knowledge that this, what you're seeing, what you're hearing, what you're feeling, is actually real. And that is the wonderful thing about the way we access our wisdom, our understanding, our insights. We do need that feeling of the hindrances vanishing, especially that fifth hindrance. So there's no doubt in your mind what you're experiencing is not what you want to experience, not what you don't want to experience. It's clear. It's not just restless for a moment then disappears. It can be there for long periods of time. And you know this is happening. I remember there's one of the gentlemen who used to come here. I think he went back he got married and went over to Philippines. But when he was here, he did a hypnotic regression. And that was enough to get an experience of his past life. He always wondered why he could fly an aircraft, the old type of aircraft, without any training at all. And that was always a weird experience. Why? And when he had his memory of a past life, he remembered he was in the British Air Force in the Second World War. And he wasn't flying a plane to get attacked in the war. He was just doing a transport mission from Wales over to Gibraltar. And he had this memory of how he died. But in that memory, the person who did that regression gave me a recording of it. And I went into my room and tracked that down on the internet and found that there was only one such incident which happened over in Gibraltar during the Second World War. And it was because of a faulty tail in the end of the plane. And this guy's memory of it all was perfect. And it kind of surprised me. How can you remember something which happened in the previous life so many years ago, and it's all absolutely real, and you can check it? And that was kind of wonderful how some of these experiences you have in meditation, which answer many questions, you may doubt this, but when it happens to you, you find it does come with it a perception that this actually is real, you're not imagining it, you're not making it up. This was you. And many times you can prove it. And that's the interesting part. In these deep meditations, when mindfulness becomes strong, it carries with it the sense of this is real, it's true. And you can access truths for yourself which are amazing. So, because of this, I'll be personal. One of the times when I was meditating over in Bodhinyana Monastery, so not that long ago, then I love to experiment. So I asked myself, what is my earliest memory? There's that experience. And the first memory which came up was I was, say, a baby in a pram in London. That's where I was born. And my mother was pushing me in the pram. When it came up, I had it's like being back there. Not like a memory of what you had for lunch today. It was a memory like being back there, being able to explore that experience. And one of the things which I noticed, which was strange, was my mother. I recognized her and even the contents of my baby's pram by its smell. And that confused me for a while, but when I told this story to many people, one of the people I told it to was somebody who knows the development of the baby in the womb and afterwards. And they said, that is one of the first of your 5 senses which grows strong, your sense of smell. And it's true, in the first weeks of a baby's life, you recognize people like your mother and your father, not by how she looks, but how she smells. And that's kind of weird, that what I thought was maybe just an illusion was actually truthful. Those stages of your mind, when you get into deep meditation, have different aspects to them, which if you notice, what you see, what you hear is truthful. You can rely on it. You're not so deceived. And that's kind of an interesting thing when I was just, many of you know, the last week I was hanging out with an old friend who was a close friend of Stephen Hawking. And, we were talking about, how can we verify, truths like the nature of the mind, what is consciousness. The only real way we can verify it, he said, was through experiments. I said, no. In deep meditation, you can verify these things, but it's hard to prove that verification process to others. But nevertheless, that was in my mind recently, so that's why I keep talking about it. And right now, we're doing some meditation, even though you may not be intending the meditation to verify who you were in your previous life, or what you're up to in this life, and when you were very young. But nevertheless, it's nice to realize that these are truths which you can experience for yourself. The nature of your body, how it works, how it heals, why it gets sick. These are important things to know. And then there's little things, like, that many of you are traditional Buddhists as well as meditators. Why that sometimes we do chanting for you. You ask, can you please, I'm feeling a bit sick, can you please do some blessings for us? Why do I do that? I don't do it just to please you. I know it works. You know how it works. That's one of the reasons why we do it. I'm not fraudulent. I don't get anything out of this. I'm not allowed to have money. Any donations goes in the Buddhist Society of West Australia. Is the treasurer here this evening? No, it's afternoon. No, the treasurer's not here. How many committee members have we got here today? No? You see, I'm their worker. I'm their slave. I inspire people and they offer money to this place, and that's how they build these centres and pay the bills. But nevertheless, I'm happy to do that, because it's maybe able to extend this teaching a long, 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 long way. So anyway, when you do the meditation, the idea is to understand your mind. We call that the mental consciousness. And once to be able to understand it, even the Buddha used that simile of like a chemist. If you want to find the nature of, say, silver or titanium, you have to purify that sample of, say, titanium. So it's just titanium and nothing else. And then you can do your experiments on it. how it works. And then when you do your experiments on it, you know that you can trust the results, they're pure titanium. And then you can understand it. And that's the same with the nature of your mind. You know what a mind is? It's a fascinating thing to learn about and discover. And it's different powers and ways of working. But the only way to really understand the nature of this thing we call the mind is to isolate it first of all. So any other things which can mix up with the mind and contaminate it, and not in the sense of making it dirty, but in the sense of making it mixed up with other senses. The other senses disappear. So you can't feel the body, the sense of touch vanishes. The sense of sight vanishes. When I was doing some Zen meditation as a lay person years ago, I didn't really know what I was doing. It's nice when you don't know what you're doing because you get surprised. You don't get scared. And I was asked to keep my eyes open. So your eyes open, staring at a whitewashed wall, but keeping your mind still, not thinking, not naming. And then what happened, after about 10 minutes, still with my eyes fully open, the wall disappeared. It kind of vanished, like a magician had tapped it and then it just disappeared from reality. And that, of course, was weird. I was not scared. I was interested. How does this thing happen? If something remains still long enough, it vanishes. And that's what happens with your body. It's supposed to happen with your body in meditation. You don't move. You get yourselves reasonably comfortable, but it's never perfectly comfortable yet. And you sit still long enough, and then the body vanishes. You can't feel it. You're still perfectly awake. You haven't fallen asleep. That's the other time your body vanishes, when you're asleep. But this time you're perfectly aware, but you can't feel things. And later on, you can't hear things. That's one of the reasons why we try and keep these rooms quiet, so you're not disturbed by noise. Even sometimes you can be meditating, get quite still, and you can't hear any sounds. Even the sound of cars outside. You can get so, it's easy to cut out the sense of physical touch, sight, sound, and the other two are very easy to cut off, smell and taste. So those five senses vanish. So what are you aware of? That which is left is called the mind. And it's peaceful. Because it's peaceful, there's nothing much happening there. You find that it brings up a lot of joy. Do you know what happiness is? This is what you learn in meditation. Real joy, real happiness. Because the happiness which most people know is of the world, of the five senses. Sight, sound, smells, tastes and touches. And here that all vanishes. And it becomes a more delightful, more delectable happiness. The joy of peace. A mental joy. And after a while, when people ask you, are you just imagining that? Are you just another of Ajahn Brahm's brainwashed disciples? Are you just believing in some sort of cult? And you know that you've experienced this yourself, and there's no doubt about it. It's real. Imagine that. You can teach people how to bliss out, no matter what they're doing or what they're experiencing. And of course the weirdest part is when you can do that when you're really sick. The worst I had was a typhus fever for about 3 or 4 weeks in Thailand. And then I could still get deep meditation. where the body totally vanished. And that's wonderful. And when the body totally vanishes, when you're having fevers and you're the weakest I've probably ever felt in my life, that really is bliss and freedom. Body's not a problem anymore. When you see these things, you understand what the nature of the body is, what the nature of the mind is. And no matter what the body is up to, you can always be free of it. I don't mean killing yourself. It's much better than that. So anyway, I shouldn't speak too much. Hopefully people can ask questions afterwards. Let's actually start the meditation and just see what happens. Okay, so if you do have a sore leg or sore back or something, please have a stretch. Those of you who come for the introduction to meditation, that is in the room to my right with Peter. And actually you can see that we've got two people over there are holding teddy bears. And when I forget where it was, I think it's over in New South Wales, somebody was running an organisation and just teaching people how to relax and get over some trauma they've had in their lives. And I told them on one of the retreats, use the teddy bear method. You can see the two teddy bears over here, one big one, one small one. And people put it on their lap when they start meditating. Why do you do that? It brings a sense of safety and comfort and joy. That helps the meditation. If you don't believe me, try it. It does work. That's why anyone who goes to our retreat centre over in, it was called Jhana Grove, will see so many teddy bears there, which people adopt, put on their lap and get so much better meditations. Does it work for you? No doubt there. And you, Aurora? Because sometimes it gives you a sense of comfort, safety, joy, and that enhances the strength of the mind. So that's why the teddy bear meditation is a help for each one of you. We don't have any spare teddy bears here, do we? They all go. Dhamma school's got them, okay, yeah. Excellent. So anyhow, so let's get started. So if you can sit comfortably. And the idea is to sit comfortably enough that your body doesn't cause you any disturbance at all, and even vanishes. So first of all, close your eyes. There's nothing much to see. It would be really wonderful if you could close your ears too. We're not interested in sounds, sights, smells, tastes and touches. Touches are hard to shut down. So that's why I do a scan of my body, starting with my toes. And when I do a scan of my body, it's not just knowing the toes, it's being kind to them. Just like your doctor would come and ask you, how are you feeling? You know you've broken your leg, it's now healing. How does your leg feel? And now I'm asking you, parts of your body you don't think are injured, such as your toes, how do they feel right now? And we develop what we call the body awareness, starting with toe awareness. And you'll find out that every part of your body feels different to another part of the body. My toe feelings and sensations are not the same, are totally different, strangely to say, than my fingers. Fingers feel one way, toes are totally different. So when I can experience the sensations in my toes, I ask them, can I improve those feelings? That's a kindness. And as usual, when I ask that question, there's an answer, and it is, I've got my big toe of my right foot sort of squashed, under my calf. I'm now going to adjust that by moving my legs. So I can get it better. It's okay to move at the beginning of the meditation to make sure that the way you're sitting is as best you can possibly do. And it does feel better. I had to pause for a bit, stop speaking, and feel my toe. And then from my toes I go to my feet. How are your feet feeling? I adjust my left foot slightly. It was squashed against the leg. I move up to my ankle. I've had no injuries down there, but I feel my ankle. And even though there's no pain there, nevertheless, I suggested to it, I can relax you a little bit more. And I kind of use my imagination. I imagine my feet are soaking in a warm bowl of water. Because I remember I used to do that when I was a kid. You come home from school, it's been snowing, and my feet were so cold. Get out of some hot water, put it in a bowl and soak my feet, and they'd relax. And for my ankles, only when I'm finished and they are comfortable, go up my calves of my legs. They all feel okay, but I check them first of all. And from the calves of my legs to my knees. Many people, when they come to meditation, have problems with their knees. Please, that's what we have chairs for. Please sit in a comfortable chair if you have a knee problem. Or in one of these stools we have. Or use cushions. Until you look at your knees, and it's kind of, they say thank you. And the knees almost telling you, you care for them. I don't just mean just in general. You see what you can do to relax them so deeply. It's like your knees are sinking in to this soft cotton cushion. Until I can't see, in my knees right now, I can't see any stress on them. And sometimes I use imagination, sometimes I just do movement, sometimes I just suggest, and the knee relaxes. Number one, it feels good. I don't force this. I don't relax them more than is possible. I have to be gentle. Make peace, be kind, be gentle. Then go to my thighs, and I kind of look at them. Ask them, how are you? Thigh muscles. And when they give an answer, I act on it. Even though I was supposed to be asking my thighs how they are, my nose answered and it needed a scratch. I'm glad we meditate with our eyes closed. You'll see me picking my nose. And I will do that because my body is more important than any reputation. And I go up to my buttocks. top of the thighs. And my attention is just on those two buttocks, and to relax the feelings there as best I can. But here, as you remember, I say every week, when I am aware of my buttocks, there's always a feeling there. It's the pressure, the weight of my body being transferred into the floor through the buttocks. And I do move just to balance that feeling, make sure it's even on both sides. And I know that eventually, after a minute or two, that feeling will disappear. It's not a problem. And I realize my brain is so efficient. If there's a feeling there, even a strong feeling, but it can be changed, and I'm not worrying about it, it disappears. And that's what the purpose of this practice is at the beginning. And I look at my whole legs, including my buttocks down to my toes, and they're pretty comfortable. I've relaxed part by part, and I go up to my waist, make sure that's in a good position. I actually do move my waist. There's one position which is the best, and that's what I go for. And make sure my back is straight and curved. I did injure my back many years ago. I'm thankful for that. That taught me about how the back works and what not to do. My back feels good. Go to the bottom of my body again, to the bottom of the torso, and start to scan my attention up my digestive system, through the colon first of all, just roughly, don't need to be accurate. My purpose is, if I can see anything which is kind of an ache or a pain, which may turn into be, a real tummy ache or bowel ache, what I do is just pause there, wish it well, wish it kindness. Because I was talking today, with someone after lunch, that when doctors listen to nurses, they can just hold somebody's hand or look at them with kindness, and that heals, lessens the pain. If you can give such kindness to your own body, right now, the digestive tract, it's amazing how you can heal any aches and pains. And go up from the digestive tract into the intestines, eventually to the stomach. I can see my stomach. It's amazing, it is a bit irritated. I think it was because someone gave me some dark chocolate today, a dark chocolate bunny for Easter. And out of the desire for religious harmony, I decided to eat the ears of the rabbit. Maybe I ate too much. I can feel to see slight irritation remaining. And I go further up to the stomach itself. And if anywhere, I know how to relax things, take away the stress. If there's any aches or pains, relax it. It's not trying to get rid of things, that stresses things out. It's not replying with negativity, but with this wonderful care. Dear stomach, sorry if I ate too much chocolate. I relax my tummy. Go further upwards to my lungs. I do suffer from hay fever, allergies. My father was asthmatic, so I've got that genetic, well, I was going to say fault, but I won't say fault, like anomaly. When I relax, my lungs relax too, and I breathe so easily. And all the while I'm scanning up my body, if I notice anything, in the outside of my body, in the front, by the breasts, or in the back, all these organs in the back, if I notice they feel a bit strange, I'll just focus on them and just bathe them in as much kindness as I can create. I often, just when people tell me they're suffering from some disease, I focus on that source of disease inside their body and send lots and lots of metta. It works. And I sometimes think, why don't people do that to their own body? I'm doing that now. And as I go further up, I get to my heart region, and I focus on the heart and give it huge amounts of kindness, relaxing it. I know if you get afraid, your heart gets stressed and beats very fast. When it gets comfortable, it beats less. So I grant my own heart the opportunity to be at ease. It doesn't have to work hard. I'm only meditating. I'm not running a marathon. And then you go to the very top of your your torso, to the shoulders. There always seems to be a bit tense when I start meditating. So I deliberately relax them. One way, it's only one way to relax the feelings in your shoulders, is to go in the opposite direction first of all. Tense them up, scrunch them up as much as you can, and then let go. And they usually get more relaxed than when I started. It's like rolling a ball up a hill, letting it go, and it falls to a lower level than it was before. So now my shoulders feel really at ease. And I go down the rest of my arms, past my elbows. If you have any elbow problem, first of all, can you feel your elbows? How are they? I do ask the question, elbows, how do you feel? And when I get that feeling, I relax it even more. It's amazing just how, when you know something, you have a tiny bit of power over it, and you can make it more relaxed. And then to my forearms, and then my wrists, and my hands. And last of all, my fingers. The reason I giggled there, I don't know how many times I do this, but when I ask my fingers how are they, there was a at last, you've asked. Because my fingers are not comfortable. Now I put them in a more comfy position. It's like the fingers say, thank you. I don't assume anything in my body. I just relax every part of it. And some part I forget, and I'll get back to it later. And I go back to my shoulders again and my neck, making sure my head is well balanced on top of the neck. Sometimes, I've been saying this recently, if I feel tired, I move my head slightly backwards. It tends to bring more alertness, but not too far back. And I go to the head itself. Mostly the face, the muscles around the eyes, the nose and the mouth. I can feel if they're tight, if they're too loose. You all know that you can read a person's state of mind often by how their face looks. If they're afraid, angry, tired, you can see that on the positions of the muscles in the face. I now learn how to relax as much as I can all those muscles on the face. And with that, any tiredness, any fear, any sort of negativity, just the superficial negativity, but still it works, can be let go of. And my face really relaxes. And then the one last thing I do with my body, I join everything together. The head, neck, body, arms, fingers, butt, legs, toes. I've relaxed every part of it, bit by bit. And my goodness, it feels good. It feels joyful. Because it feels joyful, it relaxes even more. And I enjoy that feeling for about 2 or 3 minutes. Sometimes I indulge in it for longer. I'm not afraid of that joy. It's what causes relaxation, deep relaxation. And then I go to my mind. Relax the body, now I relax the mind. One of those exercises I do is on the suitcases. I just do an imagination that I'm holding 2 heavy suitcases in my mind, not in my body. The suitcase in the left hand represents my past, all the good and bad things which I've done in my life. The one in the right hand is the future, all those fears, anxieties, decisions I have to make in the future. And I feel their weight. They're heavy. They tire me. So I imagine first feeling the weight, the burden. Then I lean to the left in my mind so I can lower the suitcase in my left hand to the floor. When it meets the ground, all the weight vanishes. The ground, the earth is now bearing that weight. So I can let my hands move away from the handle and relax by my side. And I similarly let go of the suitcase in the right hand, lowering it to the ground, letting the floor hold the burden, and I move my hand and my arm upwards. I've let go of the past and the future. It's safe, I can still see them there. No one is going to take them away. But I'm not holding them. I'm free. And that becomes the first relaxation in my mind. Letting go of the past and the future, so I can be in the present moment. It's nice being here. And the next thing which I do, I notice I can still think about the past and the future and give names to things, and that's a burden. And now I resolve to stop giving things names, to stop thinking. I can feel, I know my emotional world, but I don't give things names. It's usually the names come and then they start the problems. I become silent. In that silent, present moment awareness, there's a great sense of peace and freedom. I notice that. Peace, freedom. That's the meaning of meditation. So now I just stay here. Don't need to go anywhere. I'm in the present moment, silent. I'm just going to now let this grow and mature, and see where this leads. I will now be peaceful and silent. Getting close to the end of the meditation now. Before you leave the meditation, please inquire how your body feels and how your mind feels. Don't analyze with words. Experience with feelings. And now I will ring the gong 3 times to show an ending to the meditation period. Excellent. So you can usually start the Q&A with the questions from overseas, and then gives a chance for us to come out slowly. Thank you. I have 2 questions here. From the UK. As a theoretical physicist, do you know if there is a relationship between meditation and the quantum realm? Can meditation affect the quantum field? Thank you. And basically, I don't make any connection between those 2 things. The meditation is what I experience, and the quantum field is the sort of things you think about. And all the thinking kind of stops in meditation. So I've never explored that possibility. And basically I don't see the need to. So basically that question is just not part of my agenda. And next one, is from Germany. Dear Ajahn Brahm, I'm severely ill, no healing, which makes me sad. How can I give loving kindness to my body and my loved one like that, to find peace and make life easy for us? A lot of the times, the illness, the pain, can take your energy away, but it doesn't have to. Sometimes, I remember trying that many times when I was a young monk, of being really ill, in pain, and not being able to sleep or not being able to do anything. And then I decide to let it be, to let go of trying to change things. And that loving kindness, the best way I can describe it, is that story of opening the door of my heart to whatever I'm experiencing. This is part of life, having sickness. And it's also part of life learning that this sickness affects the body, but doesn't affect the mind. The mind can be free. And there's a few times, once I allow that possibility, then it happens. You can be free, even though you're really, really sick, in pain, or just no energy. You let it be. You don't have happiness or sadness. You go beyond both of those. And afterwards, when you see that pain, that illness, that weakness, you can let it go, then afterwards, that does inspire you. You know, in your life, there's more to life than sickness. Even at the end of your life, when you know that sickness is not going to be healed, you can let it go. And really let it go. And be really peaceful. Imagine that. Have you ever seen people who have been in great pain when they're sick, and at sometimes the end of their life, you look at them, they're at peace. It's like they've done an amazing thing. Understood pain, understood freedom, seen the difference between the two, and gone for that difference, to really be at peace. So if you are severely ill, no healing, don't be sad. Instead of being sad, just understand why, what's going on. And just because the body is sick doesn't mean the mind has to be sick. When you do that, sometimes weird to say this, you feel that sickness, thank you. You taught me so much. Okay. Any questions from the floor here? From you guys? How many of you have never been sick? Of course we've all been sick. And sometimes it's hard to bear. And sometimes I've come across people who've really been sick for years. And people who got through that sickness and blissed out. Haven't died yet. Okay, I've got a question.
Thank you, Ajahn Brahm. What I would like to know is, many years ago now, I was coming to Jacob's meditation classes, and when I was doing them at one time, I was didn't even realise what type or how deep I was in a meditation, but when it came to finish, I couldn't move, I couldn't feel anything, but I could hear very clearly. And people were saying, Anne's not moving, she's not getting up, what's going on? Why isn't, what's happening? And Jacob said, just leave her, she's fine.
Good.
So I just wanted to know, and I've often thought about that, and I have done some of that off and on since then. But I just wanted to know, what is that all about? If you could explain that for me, please.
Okay. What the explanation is that of your senses, that which controls movement doesn't need to move. You are happy, content. And sometimes you can hear instructions, but the mind is so quiet and so peaceful, it doesn't need to move. Sometimes I tell people, if you do experience those states, what to do is, you feel I better come out of meditation, but don't just try too hard to come out. I like doing like a countdown, like the 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, very slowly and kindly, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And you can, giving your mind a chance to slowly come out, to prepare itself to come out. And that's actually how people like hypnotists, they hypnotize you and say, after the count of 10 you will come out of the deep hypnosis. You can't talk to a mind and get it to act out of command. You've got to help it come out, not too harshly. And that actually works really well. Number 2, I like telling this story. This is not a past life memory, but it's so similar that I remember years ago as a monk having this dream. And the dream was, I was a young boy in the place where I grew up, the council flats in Acton in UK. And I was attacked, I was only a small boy, by a gang older than me. Not just attacked, but they had knives and they kept stabbing me. This is a dream, but it was so vivid. And as they were stabbing me, it hurt so much that I just went deep inside myself as a place of safety where I wouldn't feel the pain. And then my mother had seen that somehow, came running out as a mother would, not out of fear. No, she was so outnumbered and these kids had knives, to try and save me. And the kids ran away and I just collapsed. And then I remember just being in like a catatonic state for years. This never happened, but it's obviously something which had happened in a previous life. And catatonia means, you don't respond to any sort of stimulus from outside. You're still alive, but you are non-communicative with the world. And then I do remember what brought me out of that, just in some sort of home, being looked after, not in my own home, and a nurse just singing so gently, with so much loving kindness. It felt safe to come back into the world. And that safety, that kindness, I realize, just from that dream, how powerful that is. And that's one of the reasons why I say if anybody does get into a deeper meditation, you leave them there, but if you need to make sure they get out because, they have to go and catch a flight somewhere or something, do it with so much kindness. Please, don't shout. They can hear. Please come out. It's time for a flight. And they do. Sometimes people assume that shouting is the best way for people to hear. But the kindness is much more attractive and goes deeper in to your consciousness and can bring you out from danger. It's a weird experience. I never explored it since to find out why. What actually is that? But it was so real to me, even though it could not have happened the way I described it to you. Does that make sense to you? That's very powerful for me. There are people who do get into deep meditations. The last person that I saw was in one of these retreats I gave for this time a bit later, last year, for the Hong Kong and Indonesians. And this lady, she was in the evening, she started meditating on the floor of the stupa. She just carried on all night. And then other people saw her. It was cold, so they put a blanket around her. She never responded, and they let her carry on meditating. I described these things to them all. They knew exactly what was happening and what to do. But then they came in the morning. They said they shouted at her, "Come on, it's time to go for breakfast, we're leaving today, we've got a big ceremony first. And she didn't respond. So I told them, don't call any ambulance, just go back there, and instead of shouting at her, tell her very softly and very kindly, Ajahn Brahm asks you to come to the main hall. Just once. And about half an hour later, she appeared in the main hall and said, you asked me to come here? I said, yes. We've got to get ready to go today. And so, do you want a breakfast? She said, no. Can I carry on meditating? Yes, in the main hall. And she did. She never got any cold, never got any disease, which was quite amazing. She should have done. If you'd have sat in such a cold place for so long. But when you do deep meditation, you do become invulnerable. I say that, maybe you don't believe me. If it happens to you, you'll actually see it occurring. You're perfectly safe. But if you want to come out for yourself, just do it with a lot of kindness, please.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing that. Anyone else got a question? Yeah.
Ajahn Brahm. Fairly often during meditation, I'll have this experience where my eyes sort of involuntarily start to open a little bit. And when that happens, I realise that it feels like my eyes are sort of cross-eyed, like almost like they're...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like a cross-eyed angle. And I sort of, end up becoming aware of it and, almost sort of close my eyes again. Is that...
Sometimes people go cross-eyed if they follow that instruction of watching the breath at the tip of their nose. Imagine you're watching your breath at the tip of your nose, like I'm doing now. You go cross-eyed. So that's one of the reasons I ask people, please don't do that. Relax, rest, make the mind really peaceful, and then if you want to watch the breath, you can watch it, and it doesn't go cross-eyed. I don't know if that's the reason, but that's one of the reasons why that happens. You don't need to watch the breath at the tip of the nose. That's one of the problems people have. This is not nose meditation, it's breath meditation. So I can just close my eyes, I know if the breath's going in or out. I don't have to watch it at one particular place. I remember just messing around with that when I was a young monk. After a while, weird as it might sound, I could watch my breath going in and out on my big toe. It was just I was messing around with my perceptions. You don't have to watch it at the tip of the nose. All it was, you were knowing your breath was going in and out. Not knowing the experience rather than watching the physical feeling at the tip of the nose. That could be the problem.
Thank you.
Anyone else got another really good question? Okay. We can now maybe just... Oh, one more. Yeah.
I was wondering, sometimes I've found if I'm having asthma or something like that, then breathing can become a little bit more difficult. So breathing meditation can sometimes kind of feel like I'm accelerating that kind of discomfort. Do you think it's best in that situation to commit on that path, or maybe choose a different type of meditation? Or
choose a different type. It's very easy for me to say that because I suffered from hay fever, and I remember when I first learned breath meditation, there were some times of the year I could not watch my breath at the tip of the nose. There was no breath going out there, my nose was blocked. And then later on, I heard, from a Burmese method, you could watch the breath at your tummy. going up and down. So I really thought, wow, I think I can meditate now any time of the year. But then when you started keeping 8 precepts or become a monk, in the evening, when I was meditating, it was so close to the stomach. I was a young man. I felt hungry. And that was disappointing me. So eventually, you figured out, and I'm glad I had these 2 problems. I figured it out for myself. You don't have to watch the breath at the tip of the nose. You just have to know the breath. And this is how I taught people, how to watch the breath. Sometimes you teach kids, just, is your breath going in or breath going out? They know. How do you know? Just know. You don't have to watch at one particular spot in your body. As long as you know the breath is going in and going out and you're peaceful, that's good enough. So I was very happy not to learn how to meditate from early on without watching the tip of the nose. And after a while, watching the breathing meditation, I remember once I asked myself, just where are you observing this? I just asked that question. I've been watching the breath for a long time. Where are you watching it? And the answer came up, tip of the nose. But I wasn't watching the tip of the nose. That was the answer which came up. I kind of laughed. So don't watch it anywhere. Know it. That's more than good enough. Does that make sense to you?
I think so. I was originally taught meditation by a Zen monk, so they focus on the hara in the stomach.
Yeah.
And I found it was kind of irrelevant where I focused, that kind of discomfort would always be there. So I guess my question is more maybe, I was thinking, would you meditate on, I'm not sure, some sensation in the body that isn't the breath, or do you think it is valuable to sit with that discomfort?
I wouldn't sit with that discomfort. I just meditate on peace. That's no lovely thing to meditate on. You understand what peace is? You create some peace in the mind, and once you have that peace, that idea of peace becomes your meditation object. And it gets deeper and deeper and deeper. There was one meditation path which I described, and it's quite a beautiful one, of the 1,000-petaled lotus. And that 1,000-petaled lotus, the lotus opens up its leaves when it meets the warmth of the sun and the light of the sun. In this simile, the warmth of meditation describes the importance of the kindness you have, and the light, the awareness. That kindness and awareness is what opens up the lotus, what opens up the mind. You're kind and aware of your body, not just aware but kind to it. That's why I have no doubt if there's any discomfort, you find a way beyond that, not just endurance. And then all the petals of the lotus start opening up, and you get deeper and deeper and deeper. Eventually in meditation you go way beyond the breath. The breath is only a beginning path. When you go really beyond it, then you're really having a great time. And the point is that you're finding out the lotus, you. What are you made of? What are the innermost leaves of you? Beyond the body, beyond sound, beyond thought. And just deep inside. In that depth of awareness, that's where you come across things like the jhanas. And then you're really flying high. Getting really, really peaceful. You can't feel any discomfort at all. So that's what I would suggest for you. But don't keep enjoying. People think, oh, I'll enjoy, and it'll go away. As more people go away from meditation when they do endurance, and you find a beautiful way through. And you get more and more into this meditation. Go way beyond the breath. Does that make any sense?
Yes, thank you.
Great. Thank you for the question. Any more questions? Okay, and now it's 4:25, so we're now going to bow to Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha, and then we can go off to do whatever we need to do. That was a nice session.